As I said, I'm the Vice President for Communications. I've been in Serra for quite a while, and I first got exposed to something outside my club back in the 90s when the International Convention was in New Orleans, or in Dallas. I'm from New Orleans originally. A friend of mine, who was also from New Orleans, and I really met him for the first time there, was on the communications committee. And I said, well, that sounds like something I might be interested in. And so I said, okay. So I signed up to the communications committee. But the only time the communications committee met was on super weekends, which were in Chicago. And actually, at that time, there were two every year. There was one in January and one in September. But I traveled a lot for my work. So I was on the committee for 6 years, but had never been to a meeting. So, of course, things are a lot different these days because we can meet virtually now. So that makes a big difference. But one of the things that's been a fixture all that time for communications, and one of the primary things that the Communications Committee did, was a newsletter contest. And back in those days, there were some folks on the committee who were in the advertising business. And a lot of what we talked to the clubs about was how to write a news release. Okay, write a press release and give it to your diocesan newspaper or the local newspaper and that kind of thing. And they also did, they produced some little ads. And probably not a lot of folks in the audience remember the little black ads with white type on them about vocations, various things about vocations, banquetries and things like that. Things that people could put in their newsletters. But as the years went by, a lot of things have changed. As I said, we've had a newsletter contest all that time, and in my experience of being on the committee and having been chair of the committee for a few years, is that there were not a lot of entries in the newsletter contest. And as time has gone by, it has gotten less and less. Not all clubs even do a newsletter anymore. When I was newsletter editor for the first time for my club, it was a printed newsletter. So I had to do it. I had a computer, I had software that could do it. So anyway, make a long story short, we were getting fewer and fewer entries in the newsletter contest. There were some regions, basically it was a regional, the newsletter contest awarded an award for the winner in each region. We had some regions that didn't have any entries. We had some regions that had one entry. Some had two. I think one, the last time we did one, had three. So it was getting to the point where it was getting kind of meaningless. But anyway, to make a long story short, some things happened. We wound up not announcing a newsletter contest for 2024. Normally we would announce it in October. Submissions actually it was announced probably in September. Submissions had to be in October. A lot of clubs at that time had a brand new newsletter editor, and we required 2 consecutive issues of the newsletter to be submitted. And so a new newsletter editor, of course, didn't have very many to choose from. But anyway, after some discussion, we're looking at perhaps changing the contest. We had the communications meeting. Many of you are probably familiar with every month, one of the committees has a meeting, and it's a virtual meeting now. So in December, it was communications, about 10 days before Christmas. So there weren't a whole lot of people who were thinking about communications for Serra 10 days before Christmas. But we had some folks on there, and I talked about the newsletter contest and said we were going to be looking at perhaps some alternate ways of doing it. And I think it was the next day or 2 days later, got an email from John Liston, that one of the people who was in the meeting, had sent an email to the office and said, why have a contest? Really what the clubs are looking for is some examples of, what are good things to do for a newsletter or something like that. And why should it be a contest? And then the other comment was, I entered my newsletter once or twice, but it looked like every year the same club was winning. Okay, so there are some clubs that have some really good newsletters. And so if those clubs are winning all the time, then there's not a lot of incentive for other clubs to enter if they know, well, why am I going to enter? Because we know who's going to win. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. What we did, whatever I'm thinking about right now is changing the contest to more of a communications contest. And it will be not only the traditional type of newsletter, but entries for websites or other electronic media. And I've got a couple of folks who have said they're willing to help. I think what we need to do is get our heads together and figure out the best way to do this. So at the end of the presentation today, I have a slide. I have my email address and phone number on there. If anybody is interested in helping us decide what we want to do as far as a communications contest, newsletter contest in the future, get in touch with me. I'll be around the rest of the weekend, here today and tomorrow. So stop me and I'll put your name down and make sure that we get in touch with you. Okay, another possibility I was thinking is maybe to periodically recognize good examples of things that different clubs are doing for communications. And it may be not just a whole newsletter or even a page, but here is a particular thing that some clubs put in their newsletters, and the way it's presented is good, and maybe this is a good idea. If you're not doing it this way in your club's newsletter, maybe you want to take a look at doing something like that. The other thing will be website content and layout. A lot of clubs have a website, and they're looking for ideas on what they should put on the website and how people get to it and that kind of thing. And besides that, there may be some other innovative media uses that some clubs are using that I'm not even aware of. So those will be the kinds of things that we'll be looking at. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, and I had no idea that Ann was going to talk about this at lunch today, is the fact that SI has developed a strategic plan. And as she had on her slide, and I don't know if everybody could see it because the screen was a lot lower over there, but the vision that is in the strategic plan, Vision 2035, and gosh, when you say 2035, man, it sounds like it's way in the future. It's only 10 years from now. This is 25 right now. So the overarching goal is to foster a culture of vocations to the ministerial priesthood among parishes, schools, and families. Okay. And the vision is become recognized as a worldwide resource for supporting religious vocations. And that's the main one I wanted to talk about. The overarching goal talks about fostering cultural vocations. But, as I looked through it, I participated along with the rest of the members of the board in coming up with a strategic plan. And there are a lot of things in there that depend on communications. Okay, as we've learned and heard from our other speakers today, and I had forgotten about, but this is the year of hope. And it seems like all this time that I've been in Serra, we've been hoping more people would know what Serra is. Okay, and it's going to take some communication in order to get folks to know what Serra is and what we do and why we're important. So, as I say, communications is a critical component of the many individual goals and tasks that are in that strategic plan, if you have the chance to take a look at it. So I believe what we need to do is to create a strategy, communication strategy, I don't want to call it a strategic plan because it's a communication strategic plan to support the strategic plan. And the other thing is that we can't do this alone as the U.S. Council, okay? Communications for Serra involves Serra International, the Council, and the districts and the clubs, okay? So all that needs to come together. So one of the things I talked about in December at the meeting, I said there weren't a lot of people in there, so I know most people haven't seen this, but I took a look to see the different websites that Serra has. We have the Serra International website, and the web address is there. Everybody probably knows that. The member website, which is Club Express, it's basically a member database. Okay, but there's a lot of other functionality in the Club Express besides the membership database. But that's a separate website. And then there's the council website. For some reason, as we've gone through time, at various times somebody needed a website, and so people worked on it. And there was no coordination through the communications committee or anything. It was just somebody felt something needed to be done. They couldn't do it with the tools that were available. They couldn't. It was very difficult to update the Serra International website or the council website, add a page, change something on the page, and that sort of thing. So the easiest thing to do is to create a new website. So there's one for the council, and it's like something didn't get translated on my slide. Okay, the last one down there, I think, is the foundation, the Serra International Foundation, and then there was another one I had found that's called Join Serra, and I don't remember how I came across that, but I doubt that anybody even knows it exists. But it's joinserra.org, and it's just one page that basically that talks about what Serra is, what the benefit of it is, and a link, I think, to go to the SI website. But anyway, there hasn't been any real central coordination of communications for the council as we've gone through the years. And so that's what I think is something we need to get some heads together and figure out the best way to do that, so that we're not duplicating effort, or the left hand is doing one thing and the right hand is doing something else. So those things that one take a look at. Basically, to wrap up, again, as I mentioned, we have these meetings every 4 months, 3 months, yeah, because there's 4 committees every 3 months, so that takes care of the year. So the next meeting for communications will be on April 14th. A lot of times the notices don't go out until like the Friday before or that same day. But if you're interested, as I say, the next one should be on April 14th. And I've got my name, my email address, and my cell number there. If anybody is interested in helping us figure out some better ways that we can communicate within Serra and try to wrap some things together. One of the things that we have been trying to do for quite a while, and was also in the proposal that the anti-vocations made for redoing the Serra National website, was to do what's called branding. And that term branding has a negative connotation for a lot of people. It's not just to do with advertising, but having content, material, printed materials, websites, and whatnot that somebody can look at and know immediately, yes, this is Serra International. Right now we've got different designs for different websites, and somebody going to the website, yeah, maybe there's the logo of Serra International up there in the corner, but it doesn't look anything like the other websites, and so I think that can be confusing for people also. So what we're looking to do is to establish our brand better. We have really 2 audiences. One is Catholics in the pews who have no idea what we do. In fact, I've even heard seminarians talk about, oh yeah, we have a Serra club where I came from. Okay. And so that's always been a problem. And then, as I say, that's one audience, the general Catholic population. Before we can really achieve our strategic goal of getting everybody to know who is the place to go to for vocations, is to get them to know what Serra is, or recognize that name. A lot more people recognize it in California because a lot of the cities in California were named after the missions that Father Serra and the priests who followed him established. But people outside of California, most of them never heard of Serra before. And so the name of Father Serra, Saint Serra, he's a saint, he's our patron, our organization is named after him. The other main audience that we have is the Serrans themselves. I would guess that probably 75% of the members of the clubs in my district have no idea what goes on at Serra at the level beyond their club. They probably have a little bit of, we have a couple of things that we do in Dallas and Fort Worth that they know that there's other clubs, okay, besides the one that they're in. But every club, does things differently and whatnot. We have a few programs that we do together. But by and large, the folks really have no idea of what a district governor is, what a regional director is. I saw the results of one poll survey that was taken of people where they were asked who their district governor is, and some of them named the club president, some of them named somebody they knew in a different club, but they had no idea what a district governor is or a regional director. So, as I say, two audiences we need to reach with the communications, the Catholics in the pews, getting them to know what Serra is, what the need for vocations is, and then within Serrans themselves. Another interesting fact is that if you look at the data, that's in the database, we have about 8,000 members in the U.S., Serrans in the U.S. 60% of them have joined since 2017. Okay, we gain a lot of new members every year, but we also lose a lot of members every year. And so there's a lot of turnover. And a lot of times, we think, okay, well, everybody knows this. We don't have to keep repeating it. We do need to keep repeating it. People need to be hearing this because there's always somebody new in your club. Somebody's been in your club 3 or 4 years. And, that's the time for them to start becoming aware of some of the kinds of things I'm talking about. So that's all I have today. And
Don, can you just spend a few minutes talking about the advantages of having a website on the portal?
On Club Express. The club can set up a website if they don't have one, or if they do have one and they're tired of paying somebody to host it and not being able to find somebody to keep it updated. And Peter Jude in the back is one of the people who's been working with me to get one set up for his club.
I think to Kurt's point, one of the benefits, and again, it's whatever you put into it, right? The benefit really is the fact that it looks like the Club Express site for Serra International. So it transitions and it has a lot of the components of Serra International that you'd have to rebuild, where it has the links there that you can connect to with all the resources. So you don't really have night and day. It's all the same look and feel.
Yeah, it's the same, it's on the same website, and so it has the look and feel so people know. The one thing is that it can be as simple or as complex as you need. We have a club, the Metro Dallas Club, wanted to do the same thing. And Krista Pichler from, I think is it Omaha?
Omaha.
Yeah. she was here last year, but she does that for people. She had packages where she could put together a website for somebody, but she's also willing to work with clubs if they want to put something on Club Express. So the Metro Dallas Club wanted to do that, but they wanted to have a different look and feel for the homepage, and so she designed a homepage for them. But then there's some other components from the Club Express package that she was able to put on their website.
And the lady that he's speaking about that was here last year, I contacted her, and I think for a minimum of like $400 or something, she could get you up and running if you don't have somebody techie.
Is that just one time?
No.
I think it was a one-time setup with the basics, so we ended up doing it ourselves. I had somebody, but it just has contact us, a registration link, actually. But the point of the story is, it looks very much like Serra International's website, and then you can build pages under it, like you mentioned. But
As we get more clubs wanting to do this, we'll develop some expertise within the organization for helping clubs design websites and update websites on the Club Express platform. So right now, we're just taking baby steps. There's a lot of potential here.